Welcome to the Create Today podcast. This show is all about how you can create the life that you love one day at a time. I'm your host, Karen Stanley, and my guest today is Mary Hopper. She's the author of Lighten Up Your Life book, and she's a coach and an amazing human. I'm so happy she's here. Hi, Mary. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Heck yeah, excited. I just want to know, first of all, how did you end up getting into coaching?
Oh, that is a great question. So it kind of came about, well, back in 2020, I published my book, Lighten Up Your Life, and I also took an online course and met two women in Canada. And together, the three of us started a business called the Chillionaire Club, and we started coaching in the Chillionaire Club. We created a mastermind and we had a membership, and I absolutely fell in love with being in space with other women who want to grow and evolve and become the best business owners and versions of themselves. And from that, I've just evolved my own business now into coaching and retreats and all the things.
I love it. How long before you actually published your book did you have the idea that you wanted to write a book?
A long time, a very long time. So
Really?
in 2000, yes, in 2015, actually, I was pregnant with my first child, and he was stillborn. He was a stillborn. So that was the worst possible thing that had ever happened to me. I
Oh,
didn't
God.
even know that was a thing. But after we went through that, I started writing. I just knew, like, I've kind of always written, but I started taking it more seriously and writing just the things that I thought people needed to hear. You know, life is short, live your life. Like, why do we have all this stuff around us? Why aren't we doing more things? Why aren't we doing the things that we love? And I just became really passionate about getting that message out there. And so I actually started a blog in 2013. I've been blogging for many, many years. And that's where it kind of came, where I started publicizing and getting my ideas to other people. And then from that blog, I took things that I'd written on the blog and then developed this book. So it took me 5 years to put the pieces together, to find somebody to help me edit. I'm not the best at the editing piece of it, and figuring out how it all. Writing a book is a major process to
It's
make it
a
make sense
major
for
process.
other people.
Yeah. And I like to tell people that, but also everybody can do it. If you want
Absolutely,
to write a book,
100%,
just
100%. I don't recommend doing it alone, though. I do recommend having somebody help you.
yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I had tons of people helping me.
Yes.
I always like to say that saying, there are no good writers, only editors.
Yep.
It cracks me up. It cracks
That's
me
so
up.
true.
It's so funny. It's so
Yep.
funny. That's in the author world, they like to make fun of writers and they say editors are the ones that make everything good.
Pretty
And
much.
yeah, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
But it
I
is a
think
huge,
writers are the ones that are brave enough to say the thing.
I agree.
So
Because
I do
editors
think
can go
that,
back and
yeah.
they can just edit because
Yes,
it's not their original thoughts. It's not their
exactly.
being
Exactly.
vulnerable.
They're no skin in the game there. They're just
Yep.
editing.
Yeah.
Writers have courage.
It does take courage. What
Mm-hmm.
was the scariest thing from manuscript to publish? Did you have fear? I had fear.
Um, so I'm going to be completely honest with you. This first book is surface level. Now that I am writing my second book, I noticed that I could have gone deeper. At the time, it was perfect. It was exactly what it was meant to be. And so I didn't have a ton of fear about like what I had written, because I knew the concepts were good. And like I said, it's a 70-page book. It's pretty short and to the point, and it's actionable. Like I'm like, I say a concept, and then here's what you can do to incorporate this into your life in order for your life to feel lighter. So that was the whole point of the book. That it also has a workbook that goes with it. I am in now the edits of book number 2. And I actually just told my husband this morning, I'm just dragging my feet on the edits. And he's like, what's the holdup? Like, this book is about my mom and me. And I dig into things from my childhood, from our relationship. And so every time I open the book, it opens wounds, essentially. And that's hard.
Mhm.
But that's why I'm doing it, is so that I can process everything that's happened to me in these little bits. Not everything that's happened, but these pivotal, monumental moments in my life that I'm still carrying with me in good and bad, right? Well, nothing's good or bad. They just are, but I'm able to process them and take the pieces with me that I can benefit from, and that I can share with my children and the people around me, and move forward. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. I can't wait to read it. When is it going to be published?
good
After you,
question.
after you get off your ass and publish it?
Yeah, right. Yeah. The goal is this year. I'm in contact with my editor. She's got me on her calendar for this month. So I got to get through these edits, and hopefully in the next week or two, and get it to her. So yeah, soon.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Why do you think for your second book, why do you think that focusing on you and your mother's relationship, why do you think that's so important for readers and for you?
So this book so my mom was diagnosed with cancer in February of 2019. And I also found out I was pregnant with my third child, Clara,
Mm.
about that same time. And so all throughout my mom's cancer treatment, I was pregnant. And then I had Clara in December of 2019, and we found out my mom's cancer had spread. And so all of 2020, until she passed away in October of 2020, was taking care of my mom in the final months of her life, and taking care of my newborn baby in the beginning of her life. And going through that, at the time I was in survival mode. I was just doing everything I could, but looking back on it now, I'm looking at what I did to survive, how I survived that, and what well, it comes down to the day we found out my mom's cancer had spread. Was holding my 6-week-old baby, and
Mhm.
she had gotten a call from the doctor. She got off the phone. She told me, and of course, I just lost it. I was so upset. And I'd been thinking before this even happened, like, how do you live without your mom? Like, what, I don't even know how to do that. And I had just had a baby. I needed my mom, I needed her to come help me with whatever it is I needed help with my 3-year-old and my infant. And she wasn't able to do that. And so she got off the phone. I was crying. She was comforting me. And I just looked at her and I asked her, I said, how am I supposed to live without my mom? I don't know how that's going to happen. And she looked at me and she said, I never figured it out.
Mm.
My grandma, her mom, passed away in her 60s from breast cancer, and I was 2. And so, same situation. I'm finding myself in the same situation my mom was in when I was young. And I don't believe that she didn't figure it out, because she did, because I'm here. I'm proof that she did. And I learned so much from my mom. But in that moment, I thought, I have to figure this out for my children, for me and my children. And I just knew that that was that was what I that was what I needed to do forever. That's the rest of my life, is figuring this out, making the things that I was struggling with at the time, or the things that I mean, we all have our struggles, right? But I'm open now to exploring those and finding ways to be the best version of myself, to feel really good, to a lot of patterning with parenting. And I notice, like, I've done a lot of reading, and I've spoken to therapists, um, to show up as the best mom that I can, and not put some of my own patterns or ways of thinking onto my children,
Yeah.
breaking up a lot of the generational patterns that are no longer serving us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually come from trauma. So it's generational trauma as
Yes.
well
Yes.
that we pass
Yes.
down.
Yes.
It's really interesting. My daughter did a session with an RTT therapist, because RTT, that's what I'm doing now. And
Yeah.
she wanted to do it, but typically it's kind of advised that you don't want to be the therapist for especially a child,
Yes.
because the whole point is to find the root cause of the issue. So the root cause could be something that was me. It could be something that I
Mm-hmm.
said or made her feel
Mm-hmm.
bad, and then she wouldn't want me to feel bad. So
Right.
I set her up with my therapist, and she said that one of the things that she discovered is that she could feel my anxiety. It wasn't on
Mm.
a conscious level. Once you access the subconscious, she could feel the stress and anxiety that I had being a single mom raising her by myself.
Yes.
And that is something it's so helpful to know. It's so
Mm-hmm.
helpful to just be aware of that. It doesn't make me bad, horrible, wrong. Doesn't make
Right.
her, she doesn't have to hang on to that. She doesn't have to worry about that anymore. She doesn't need to hold on to that. And it was just such a powerful thing that just made me think of that when you said that. We
Mm-hmm.
all have traumatic experiences. We all carry different energies and different beliefs,
Absolutely.
and we can, pass it on to our children, but we're not doing it on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing. It's nobody's fault.
No.
We're not blaming. And I've been really, as I've written this book and kind of digging through some of these experiences that I've had, um, really keeping a perspective of, I mean, my mom is not here to tell her side of the story. And so I'm very much respecting that. And this is my version of the story and what I've taken from what's happened or these experiences, and how I then will shift things for future. Anxiety is a huge piece of it for me. I didn't know I had anxiety until I, at postpartum. My mom passed away. I and looking back, I'm like, I've had anxiety my whole life. Some of it learned. My mom was a very anxious person. She had anxiety about a lot of things, and I saw that growing up and was around it and was in that energy of anxiety. And so just being aware of that has really, really changed how I approach. I admit I still struggle with anxiety, but I definitely have developed tools and ways to, I really sometimes don't love the word manage, but essentially to live with my anxiety. It's who I am. It's how I've been, and I can choose different
Mhm.
moving forward by supporting myself in different ways.
I'm with you. I don't like managing. Like, we need
I don't
another
love
thing to
that
manage,
either.
right?
Yeah.
I like regulate. I like to
Regulate.
regulating your
Yes.
nervous system, because you
Yeah.
can, there's so many ways that you can. So, first question, and then I want to go back to what are those tools, for
Hmm.
for regulating, anxiety and helping you through those. But before that, I wanted, because you said, your coaching practice and you work with your clients about why you don't do the things that you love. I just wanted you to speak to that a little bit. Why do people struggle with doing things that they know that will make them feel good and they know that they love to do? Why is that?
For me personally, for many years, I thought I was wrong. I wanted to do things that were different than most people around me that I saw. My parents my mom worked at the hospital, my dad worked at the school. They went to jobs 9 to 5. I mean, and even beyond that, my dad worked many hours beyond that. And that was the norm. That's what people did. And so when I first realized that you don't have to do that, you don't have to, that doesn't have to be your life. I married my husband and we bought a family business. We bought his parents' business. And that was my first step into that life could look different. And I really struggled with that at first because I was used to going to a 9 to 5. It was all that I knew. And I didn't give myself credit for the work I was doing because I wasn't doing it between 9 and 5. And when I look back on it now, I think, well, that's so silly. Like it doesn't matter when you're doing the things that you love to do, or hopefully work and the things you love to do are the same, but that's why we're having a conversation today.
Mm-hmm.
Many people, it's not. And that was my first kind of step into, wow, there's a whole nother world of being, another way of being that doesn't require me to leave my home from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at night and then do it all over the next day and the next day. And the business that I own is a seasonal business as well. And so we are in the spring, summer, and fall. That's when we're operating, and in the winter we close because we're a nursery. We sell plants, and I live in Iowa.
I was just going to ask, what is the
Yeah,
business? It's a
yeah,
nursery. That's
yeah.
so
It's a nursery.
cool.
Yeah. So the operating Natural Plus, this will be our 11th season, and the business has been in business for 45 years. It operating that on a seasonal cycle has taught me so much about rest and the downtime that we all need. Winter is a time where we really should be taking it slow and really honoring the rest and nature's doing its thing still. There's still things happening under the ground, even though where I live, we've got snow and ice and it's cold. But there's this period of I can't think of the word right now, not germination, but maybe a little bit, like
Yeah.
they've planted the seed.
Hibernation.
Hibernation. Yes. And in the spring, we know things start to bloom again. Things get green. But right now, this is the period too that people don't honor. They don't want to, because I don't know why they don't want to, but it's just not what everybody else is doing. And it feels different.
Yeah.
So,
Were you born and raised in Iowa?
yep. Yep.
With your husband?
Yep. Yeah, we actually live in the house that my husband grew up in.
No way.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
it's funny what you say that you have two parents that worked outside the home.
Mm-hmm.
That's the norm. And it's just like, I just was thinking, no matter what it is that your family does, you think that that's the norm,
Right.
whatever. It could, like my mom was a stay-at-home mom. Most of my sisters are stay-at-home moms. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what was normal for me. And for other people, it's they can't even imagine that their mother being home after school or any of that.
Right.
And so it's just like, again, the only reason why I reiterate that is because whatever it is that you grew up with, whatever is the quote norm, doesn't mean much. You can just do whatever you want. If you have this different idea or you really want to see something differently in your life, I then I ended up being a career woman, and I ended up being the one with the 9 to 5 job, and ended up
Yeah.
being like 7 to 7 job. And I was traveling all over the country, and it's just like, it was a nightmare. I mean, after I loved it for like a second because I was good at it,
Yeah.
and I felt good, and I was making a lot of money, and I was like, chasing that American dream. And I was just like,
Mhm.
ugh, after a while, I'm like, I never want to see an airplane ever again. I never want to put a suit on ever again the rest of my life.
I get it. I think you nailed something there. I was good at it.
Yeah.
I was good at it.
Yeah.
I studied to be an occupational therapist. I
Mhm.
have a master's degree in occupational therapy, and I was a damn good therapist. I
I
was
bet.
really good at it. I was. I loved it. I loved my patients.
Mm.
But the traditional occupational therapy, I was unhappy with working in a hospital setting, going to work every, I'm a creative. I want to be able to work when it feels good for me, and I want to be able to create things when that feels right. And I was not able to do that as
Yeah.
a traditional OT. And I had an opportunity to buy our nursery, and I stepped away and I held on to my license for a year or two, and then I decided that, and I write about it in Lighten Up Your Life, that I don't have a plan B. My life is plan A. That's my life. Like that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. So
Yeah.
I'm not holding on to things. I'm not and that was a hard step, because letting go of that was my identity for a long time. That was my goal, was to be an OT. I went to many years of school to do that. I was a traveling OT, and I worked, that was who I was. I was an occupational therapist. And so letting that completely go um, was a step. And also at the time, my mom was like, "Are you sure you're going to let your license go? Are you sure that's what you wanted?" You have outside influences looking out for you, and also maybe putting some self-doubt in you as well. They mean
Yes.
well, but it really, I knew in my heart I would never go back to the clinical setting. I would not
Yeah.
be happy if I did.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
So,
I love that. Like they say, what's that story where you get to the island, they had to burn the boats so you can't
yep.
go back.
Absolutely. That's what I did. So if I wanted to go back as an OT in a clinical setting, I would have to take the boards again,
Wow.
which I'm not going to do.
Nope.
And now that I'm into coaching and the things that I'm doing, I use what I learned as an OT. I'm still an OT. I just don't have I'm not registered with the national organization, and I don't bill insurance, but otherwise, like the way that I coach, the way I show up for whatever it is that I'm doing in my life and business, it, especially as a mom, I'm an OT. I see the world from a sensory perspective. I read people and can see what's happening with people just based on regulation of nervous system and input, what's happening around. Um, so it's the tools that I learned as an OT. I use every day in all areas of my life.
Isn't that interesting when you look back and you make major shifts and major changes? Your life is so much different than it was, for whatever it is, whenever in retrospect, you're looking back the last 5, 10 years, whatever, and you're kind of looking back at the changes that have made and everything, the things that are different now in your life. But at the same time, everything you have done up to that point have given you some knowledge, some bit of information that you needed for today. Um, just like what I'm doing now, I have been on camera doing commercials and videos and doing and singing my entire life. My whole career has been marketing. And I don't even know how many commercials I've been on and read. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I don't want to do that anymore. But guess what podcasting is? I just got
Yeah.
so much practice speaking into a microphone and just
Yes.
speaking in general tons of groups. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And I never would have thought 10 years ago that I was going to start a podcast. And I also never would have thought that, oh, my, 30-year career in marketing just set me up to give me all of these skills to even do a podcast. It's just
Yes.
amazing, right?
Yes. Yes.
Who knew? Who'd have thought?
Yes. Yes. And if you're thinking about doing something, do it because it's going, even if it's not the long-term end goal, which there is no end goal. The end goal is the end of our life.
Yep.
I mean, that's the end. There's no getting to a certain point. This all adds up and just like you said, but yeah, so if you're thinking about doing something and you're listening to this, do it because it will not be a waste of time. It will teach you something that you need to know.
Yes, do it, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Turn this podcast off and go do it.
Yes, amen. So let's talk about anxiety. I don't know anybody who doesn't have anxiety.
Agreed. Yes.
At some points,
Yes.
there's fears that come up. We have, we have core beliefs, we have challenges, we have crises, we have, deaths in the family. And so let's talk about some of those things where if anyone listening is struggling with any of those things, let's talk about how some things that can really help that they can do, they can apply like right now.
Yes. Right this minute, this very minute is your breath. Breath is so powerful. So anytime I'm leading any kind of space or workshop, we always start with breath, always. And that just brings people into the space or brings you, if we're talking just one person, you're feeling anxious or feeling overwhelmed, just coming back to that breath. The breath is always with you until, like I said, the end. I mean, the breath has been with you since the beginning. It'll be with you until that final breath. So that is the one thing you can always rely on is your breath.
Amen.
And so establishing a relationship with your breath, and really spending time with your breath, doing breathing exercises or paying any kind of paying attention to how you're breathing. I really like to do guided breathing. There's all sorts of stuff on the internet on YouTube that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, however long you want to spend focusing on your breath. Or if you just need to come back to just breathing in for 4 and out for 4. In for 4. So putting some counting with your breath will bring you back to yourself and the present moment. So breath is always
100%.
number 1.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I learned that at yoga. I mean, I started doing yoga
Yes.
when my daughter was born 18 years ago.
Yes.
And I never even thought about breath or ever. I never thought about my breath unless I was singing. I mean, you have to learn how to breathe and get lots of breath.
Yes.
But I mean,
important
in regular life, I never thought it mattered. You're just breathing. It's, you think about it. But when you do start to think about it and you actually try the long, deep breaths, the same count in, the same count out.
Yep.
I mean, it immediately changes your state.
Yes. Yep. We do so much breathing around here. My 4-year-old tells us to take deep breaths when we're feeling a little.
Really?
She's very, and you can see it. It works so well with her too. When she's getting really worked up about something, all we have to do is, Clara, just let's take a deep breath together. And that immediately brings her down to a place where she's regulated. She can then move forward or try to solve whatever problem is going. Usually it's whatever color cup she doesn't want to use or whatever. Important things.
Major crisis happening. Yes.
Right.
In a 4-year-old's life. It's huge.
Right. I mean, that is big. That's really big. I get it.
It's horrible. It's tragic.
Yes. But we use breath in our house. I mean, everybody uses breath all day long. It's how we stay alive. But we definitely use breath as a tool to come down when we are getting worked up about something, for sure.
Amen. I love that. What
Yes.
else?
The other thing would be movement,
Yeah.
moving your body in any way that feels good to you. You can dance, you can stretch. One thing that I took from my OT that I taught my clients was, I love this. You open up your arms really wide and you hug the world. So you take a big breath in and hug. And then you bring in your arms and you wrap them around yourself, and you can even kind of, whatever feels good. If it feels good to really come like forward and really squeeze yourself, and then you're hugging yourself. So you're giving love. This is
Mm.
just a total love movement. So then you're out, you're spreading your arms wide, you're giving love to the whole world. You hug the world, and then you're coming in and hugging yourself. You're giving yourself that
Mhm.
love as well. That is one of my favorite moves,
Love that.
to, and it's simple, it's easy, it feels good because it's all about love. And everybody's getting love. You're getting love, the world's getting love. And who doesn't love that? So,
Love that.
so that's a really simple exercise that you can use to, again, these exercises. So when I say focus on your breath or focus on your movement, they're taking you out of this squirrel brain, or this, we've got so many things happening in our head, I'm feeling overwhelmed. It's shifting into this one thing that you have to think about, moving your arms back and forth, right? Or breathing in and out. It's just really simplifying what your focus needs to be on.
Yeah. Keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah, for sure. I know we think, well, I have to move. That means I have to go for a 45-minute run, and I've got to go change into my tennis shoes and the right training bra and all the things, we have all the things. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It just doesn't. You could jump up and down 10 times. You
Yes.
could rub
One
your hands
song.
together. Yes. Yeah.
Like
I
you
mean,
said, dance. Turn on one
dance.
song. It's four
Yes.
minutes and dance around
Yep.
the room.
Yep.
I
Yep.
have a friend, my artist friend, she does that every single day. She told me the other day, I have a dance break every day. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. Because
It is brilliant.
I like dancing around my house, but I don't
Yeah.
intentionally do it every day.
Right. Right.
But why not? Why are we not doing that?
Why are we not doing that? My kids love it too. Kids love
The
it.
best.
So if you have kids, that's
When
what you should be doing.
that, and we used to all the time. When we
Mhm.
were cleaning, when we had, I just always put
Yep.
the music on and dance around. It's just so
Yep.
easy to do the things that we used to do when we were kids or younger, or when our kids were younger. Like you probably won't do it as much when they are 18 and 20,
Right.
like my kids.
Right.
It comes so
Yep.
naturally. Like kids always know, how to just start dancing. They never wait for a reason. They don't wait for
Nope.
a certain event. They don't wait for anything. It's just like they
Right.
just naturally do it. Sometimes I feel like all we need to do is remember what we did when we were children.
100%.
100%. We would hug people we
Agreed.
didn't
Yes.
know.
Yes.
We would talk to people we didn't know. We would help people we didn't know. We would dance all
Hmm.
the time. We'd laugh all the time.
We
Like
played. We
played. We just
played.
played. Yeah.
Hmm.
You seen that movie Tag?
No, I
On a
haven't.
side note, you got to see it. It's hilarious.
Okay.
It's based on a true story of actual
Okay.
adult men who
Okay.
met every single year to resume a game of tag that they had been playing since they were
Okay.
kids. It's
I love
absolutely
it.
hysterical, but that was their whole motto. You don't get old. You don't stop playing because you get old.
Hmm.
You get old because you stop playing.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they were it's freaking genius. It's
I'm
hilarious.
going to watch it. My
You'll
word
love
for the year is fun.
it.
And so
Mm,
play is a huge piece of that. And I've really been thinking about, how do I define play? What do I consider to be play? And
mm,
it looks different now that I'm an adult, but
mm,
it still gives you the same feelings, right?
mhm. It does.
Yep.
Did you make a list? I'm curious
I'm
what
working
some of
on
the
it.
things are
I'm
on your
working on
list.
it. I've actually I've polled my Facebook friends to see what they think is fun too. For me, fun is being outside in nature, moving my body. So anything that falls in that category, is fun for me. But one of my biggest focuses is I want to laugh a lot more. Like I want to have, I it's interesting because I looked back at my 2023 and I laughed a lot. Like I had a lot of fun in
Mhm.
2023. And so focusing on fun for 2024, at first I was like, I want to have more fun. I want to have, I'm already having fun in my life, and I do want to have even more fun. Like, how can I elevate this? Like, how can I make this even more fun? So noticing one of the things, of course, I'm reading a book called The Fun Habit because that's what I do. I make a plan for something and then I have to know everything about it.
100%.
But one of the things that he talks about is reminiscing. And
Mm.
so when I first, which is what I just talked about, when I first picked the word for 2024 to be fun, I was thinking to myself, like, I need to have a lot more fun. And then when I looked back at 2023, I was like, I did have a lot of fun. Like, there are so many moments. And I'm noticing the moments when I went through my pictures, I asked myself to pick out the pictures of the feeling of fun that I want to have more of. And the pictures that I'm doing though, like that I picked out, that I'm embodying what I think of as fun, is I'm usually outside and I'm with friends. It was when I was with other people, connection. And I was just being silly. Like I have a few pictures where I'm like, what am I doing? But it doesn't matter. I was having fun. Like it's really, yeah, it was a really eye-opening exercise for me to do.
Yes, that's a great exercise. I think that's great advice, actually. Going through your last year, going through all of
Hmm.
your pictures, identifying the ones where you're having the most fun,
Yeah.
and then what are the common denominators, like you just did.
Yeah. Hmm.
And they're probably very similar.
Yep.
Um,
Travel was another common denominator when I was
yeah,
somewhere else. Yeah. That was a
experience
big one
something
for me.
new.
Yeah.
It's doing something new.
Yes, new. Yep.
You
That's
were,
and I want to bring that more into my daily life and my home life. Like I love to travel and I'm going to travel, and I want my everyday life to have little bits of that spontaneity and new experiences. I'm gonna
yeah.
push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit this year, and I'm now going to a bar exercise class, which is really fun. It's
Ooh,
like I'm a ballerina. It's one of the hardest exercise classes I've
so
been
hard.
to. It's so hard, but it for me it's fun because it's different. And once it's not fun anymore, I'll stop going and I'll go somewhere else. But
Yeah.
yeah, have been loving trying new ways of challenging my physical body, I
Capability.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. My husband and I did some ballroom dancing lessons. We,
Ooh.
but when it was in 2020. So then once
Mhm.
they shut down, it's like, oh, we need to get back in there because it was so much fun. It's very difficult. These
Yes,
people that are
I
professional
imagine.
dancers they make
Yes.
it look like, you're just doing, playing tic-tac-toe. They make it look so easy because they have spent 10,000 hours doing it, just like everybody.
Right. Right.
So I loved it so much. I was thinking in my brain, what of the pictures are, what am I going to pick out? It's
Yeah.
definitely going to be ballroom dancing. I've got to get that in the schedule. It was so much fun. My smile could not be any bigger.
Yeah.
It's something that's been on my bucket list, my dream forever, my entire life. And we got to get back in there and just like,
Yep.
but I really think that is that's not even just a tool. What's the right word? It's really a strategy for creating an overall joyful life, is
Yes.
finding something new. Not only the things
Mhm.
that you've done before, like identifying what are the characteristics or what are the common denominators of the things that brought you the most joy, and then make sure you do those and
Yep.
schedule them in. And then also that this whole notion of just, what have I not done? What have I not seen? We've lived in Arizona. I've lived here since 1997. So what is that? 27 years, 28, whatever, something like that. Forever. And my husband's lived
Yeah.
here for 40 years.
Yeah.
And so there are still so many things around here, beautiful, amazing,
Yeah.
archaeology or trails or museums or paths or hikes, tons of things, parks, whatever it is, or gajillions of things we still haven't seen after all these years. And so we started doing that, like every Sunday, not every Sunday, but some Sundays
Yep.
when we can, we're like, all right, what haven't we seen? I've got this list of things we've
Mm-hmm.
never been to, or we haven't experienced. Maybe we just haven't done it together. So it's
Yeah.
like, maybe I've been, but I wasn't with him. So we got to go again. And
Yeah.
it has been some of the most fun, some of the most precious experiences. And
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And I love what you said about reminiscing.
Mm-hmm.
You
I know that
will,
really struck me in that book. I was like,
yes.
huh. You
Why do
can
you think
have,
that that's
yeah.
so important?
I really believe we are just on to the next thing all the time. We're looking for the next thing. We're always pushing to get to this place, right? And so when I did this exercise of looking back, um, you have an opportunity to almost relive these moments. You get to really squeeze out even more of the goodness that happened during these moments. So I think about my 40th birthday last February. My husband and I took a trip to Aruba.
Mm,
And that was a place like I've wanted to go. It was so beautiful, and everything about it was perfect. It was just the two of us. We travel amazingly together. We don't do anything when we travel unless we feel like it. And it was just perfect. We ate at the same place on the ocean for 3 mornings in a row because it was good and we knew it. And I was sitting there the third morning and I was like, our should we have gone somewhere else? Like, should we have experienced other things? And Dave's like, no, like this is perfect. Like this is exactly what we came for. But even just looking back at pictures of when I was sitting in that restaurant for 3 mornings in a row, the restaurant's on the ocean, like you're literally sitting over the ocean, and it's like the bluest of waters and the sun, and I'm drinking my tea, and just that feeling. And I made him take a bunch of pictures of me because I'm like, take my picture. I'm 40 and we're in Aruba and this is amazing. And now I have those pictures of that feeling, and I can look at those pictures and I can still remember, I can still feel that feeling. Even though
mm,
I'm not there, I remember what it was like to feel that.
mm,
And so I think taking time and space to look back at, I think this is a really important relationship building exercise as a couple. Now that I'm saying this out loud, like it would be really special for Dave and I to look back at those pictures and talk about what did we love about that trip? What's our favorite memory? We went to a comedy club and it was so fun. Like we laughed, and I mean there were so many things about that trip, and helps you then realize what you want moving forward out of your travels or your new experiences or your daily life, right? The things that made you feel just so amazing, you want more of.
yes. And then you can notice that for yourself. What are those?
Yes.
What are they? Some people, it's not a beach. Some people,
Right.
it's just the mountain. They can't
Yep.
wait for ski season every year or
Mm-hmm.
what. So whatever it is, find
Mm-hmm.
those common denominators of the happiest moments, which, can only be done if you're reminiscing over them. I think that's brilliant and a great
Yeah.
reminder to take pictures. Even if you're, just the two of you, just have somebody take your picture.
Right.
We ask strangers to take our pictures all the time when we're hiking.
Right.
I just want to
Yep.
remember it. It's not always for there's no purpose. It's just
Yep.
so I can remember that memory. It's not always for social media. Yes, of course, I
Yeah.
post some things on social media, but that's not the purpose of it.
Yeah.
And I have
Yeah.
9,000 well, I have 40,000 photos, but
My
you
God,
know,
I have so many photos.
so many, so many.
I
I'm
know.
never getting rid of any of them. And
I
I
know. Same.
want every single one of them, just so I can
Yep.
remember everything that we did.
Yep.
So special. It's a great reminder. I'm glad you said that. Um, we only have a few more minutes, but I really want to talk to people that have lost a loved one, lost a mom or a parent, in the last few years,
Hmm.
and how difficult that must be. I know my parents they're 86 and 82. So
Wow.
it's not, I mean, it could be any day. I mean, it could be any day for any of us.
Right.
They're completely healthy. There's not, it's like
Yep.
they're doing fine. They're coming down to visit for next week. They're going to be at my house. But for those who have, I know so many people have lost their parents and they're
Hmm.
really close to them. What can you say that would be helpful for them? What are some of the things that really helped you move through, just move through that process, that
Hmm.
very tragic event?
Hmm. Um, Talking to somebody about it was really helpful to help. And I actually talked to a therapist while my mom was sick,
Mm.
during that time, because I was finding a really hard time managing my anxiety,
Oh, I'm sure.
with the anticipation. I mean, we knew she was going to pass. But after, um, if it's, I took a sabbatical, honestly. I call it a sabbatical. After my mom passed, I was cruising along, still doing the things. And then all of a sudden it was like, I can't do any of this anymore. I quit a business. I stopped writing. Like, I just stopped all the things that I could, right? You
Yeah.
obviously have to keep your life going. So we
Okay.
kept our business going,
Still have
but
to feed your
anything,
children.
exactly. Anything that I didn't have to be doing, I stopped.
Mm.
And we actually, a year after my mom passed, in that November, the four of us went to Gulf Shores for an entire month, and we just hung out and played and went to the zoo and the beach. And I was fortunate that I was able to do that and take that space. But taking a break really taught me a lot about what is important moving forward. When you lose a loved one, everything changes, it shifts. Obviously, you don't have that person in your life anymore, and you have to figure out what life looks like now without them. And that that takes time. It takes a lot of time. And so I gifted myself time and space. And I obviously don't regret it at all. The next year we went again to Gulf Shores for 2 weeks, not a full month, but um, and knowing I can always come back to that too. It doesn't have to be a full month away, but you can always come back to taking a break, letting something go that maybe isn't serving you anymore. Um, yeah, it's just you have permission to recreate whatever it is you were doing, or not even recreate, create something new, right? Create a new way of being. Um, but don't rush it. Just give it time. I think that's the biggest piece of it. It's meet yourself where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of time. And it's not a linear path either at all, at all. So yeah,
And
the
do you have a certain specialty, like your coaching clients? Do they typically come to you for something specific, or is it not something specific or a specific specialty that you kind of honed in on?
yeah, clarity is really what I help people. I help people find clarity in whatever it is they are struggling with. Yeah, we dig into why things feel fuzzy or not quite right, or why am I feeling anxious, or what is it that, um, yeah, clarity and next steps. I definitely, when people get off calls with me, they're taking action because
Mm-hmm.
they've found the clarity that they need in order to know what that next step is.
Yes, that's brilliant. And then they have an accountability partner. I mean,
Yep. And
so
you better believe it.
so important. So
Yep.
you're being that, for them. It's
Yes.
so important. I think people really underestimate the importance and the power of having someone to help you be accountable, having the community, having someone to talk to. Um,
Yes.
so if
Agreed.
it's it's most, I don't know if it's most, I don't know what the percentage of people that, they retreat, so when
Yep.
something's really wrong, they don't want to reach out. They don't want to talk to people when they're not feeling good.
Right.
And the retreatment itself is literally it's pouring gasoline on the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so just talking to anybody, just trying to find that everybody, has one person. If you don't, call Mary.
Right.
I mean, like it seriously though. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just having someone to talk to and having somebody to help you get that clarity and what do I do next and figuring that out, but then having somebody to accountable. It's like all the time. It's like going to the gym. It's like anything, any good
Yeah.
habit you're trying to make.
Yep.
um, I see it all the time. These guys who come in, they have their buddies, they have the same people. It's the same people every
Yep.
day. If we go
Yep.
in the morning, every day, it's the
Yep.
same exact people. And almost everybody has two or three. They
Mm-hmm.
know they're going to be there. It makes them go. They know they're going to be missed. They know they're going to get, they're going to
Yep.
bust their balls if they don't show up. And that is the key. I mean, it's like you have to have somebody that is helping you and supporting you. I think people really underestimate that.
I 100% agree. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Mary, how can people find you?
I am on Instagram. I'm at maryhopper.co. I'm also on Facebook. I think you can just find me under Mary Hopper.
Mhm.
And you can email me at hello@marysina.com. I have a website, marysina.com.
I love it. Is that
Yep.
because was that your maiden name?
Mary Sina. Sina is my middle name. Yep.
Oh, it's beautiful. I didn't know.
Yeah. And yeah, like my family, like my nieces, they call me Sina.
Oh, I love that. Is it a
Hmm.
family name?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Oh,
Mildred Sina was my great grandmother. So thankfully my parents didn't name me Mildred.
oh, whatever. You would have rocked Mildred. I want
Oh,
all the,
Millie.
oh, Millie, you, you little thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love being called Sina. Like my closest friends
Beautiful.
and family call me Sina. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us today and for being so vulnerable and really appreciate you.
I thank you. This was the first well, I've done some fun things, but this was definitely fun. I had so much
Yay!
fun. So this was right along my goals for 2024. So
I love it. I'm going to add that to my goals. I want to have some more fun too.
yeah, let's all have more fun. The world
Let's
would be a
all
lot
do
better,
it.
wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. That's
Amen.
my goal. I want to spread the fun to a lot of other people too. So
I love it. Listeners, thank you so much for listening to my show. Thank you for watching if you're on YouTube, and thank you for being here. God bless you. And just remember that you can create the life that you love one day at a time.